Alright, hey guys, it's Dave here. Um, gonna do some video action today. Gonna have a look at the pound to the dollar cable, and maybe take a look at the euro as well. Um, Before I do any of that, I would just like to say that certainly anyone who has known me any length of time will know that nothing I say should be taken as financial advice. Um, and there may be some educational value in it for you. So, yeah, okay. So, looking at this, I mean, we've got a weekly time frame here. We've got a pretty clear, to me, it's a pretty clear zigzag. We've got a 5 wave down for an A, pretty clear B, and then I think that we're still in the C, and I think we're in the fifth of a C. Um, it certainly it's a somewhat funky wave, but I'll explain why I think it's we're in the fifth of the sea and why this, for example, is not a motive wave. I'll explain why in a second. We'll just have a, you know, I'm sure we've been over this before, but we can see that the two goes straight to the high probability zone, and then it rips down to the algo target to the -100, which we know is close to the high probability zone for a third wave. And in this case, because it doesn't get quite to the golden zone for the second, it's a little bit short, but that's fine. For me, that's still. I mean, look at this wave here. This is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. How else do we put this together? You know, the third is longer than the first. There are no overlaps, and to me that is a third wave. That is an impulsive third wave after this 1, 2, which means we're in the fourth. Now, like I say, I want to explain, and I suppose this is perhaps uh, perhaps it's the most useful thing I can offer you. Let me say that way, educationally, because um, how I would approach this here. I mean, don't get me wrong. You do need to dig in, and you do need to validate or invalidate account that you've got. Um, but I think you know that if it isn't clear, then you can take this approach. And I think that the only way to count this as a motive wave, one motive wave, is somehow or other allowing overlaps. Um, so we know that a motive wave is 5, and we know a correction is 3 at the basic form, and then we have extensions on top of that. So with an extension and a motive wave, or in either case, we add 4 waves. So in a motive wave, it's 5 plus 4, and in a corrective wave, it's 3 plus 4. So how it works, so if you imagine say this is a third wave here, and then we're going to correct the third wave, put in a 1, 2, 3 wave correction. We put in an X wave, and then another 3 wave correction to 3 before it continues to the fifth. Now, what we've got is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we've got a 7 swing, each of them overlapping corrective structure. And how I would apply this to here is just by taking the swing low to the swing high. So that's 1, back down is 2, and I would look for the next swing high. So 1, 2, 3, swing low 4, next swing high 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9, 10, 11. And we can see that this swing here is the only swing that does not overlap the previous swing. So for me, this is an 11 swing corrective wave. and I'm going to label that as the fourth because it fits in with how I want it to fit in. It makes the most sense to me. How about I say that? So, yeah, this fifth wave clearly, not the most conventional looking waves to count. But there's not really a great deal of ways that you can count this. So I want 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I want to, and here this third is longer than the first here. Um, just double check that for you. So we can see there's plenty of room in that. So yeah, third is longer than the first. So we've got a straight rip down followed by an ending diagonal. It's pretty textbook, and actually the diagonal measures pretty nicely as well. So we can see it here. I think it just gets well, Quan might call it an ass here. In Scotland, we might tend to call it a midge's bohair. So we can see that it just gets midge's bohair through. I think it gets through the golden zone just by a touch. Let's have a look. In fact, it doesn't. So it doesn't get through the golden zone. It stays within our parameters there. And yeah, no midges were hurt. So we get up to the golden zone here, down. I mean, clear algo reaction there. Boom, profit taken, straight back up again. Um, so it measures pretty nicely to the 618 for the two. Then we want to take it to the third wave from the origin of the first, and again into where we would expect it for the fourth in a diagonal, in between the 15 and the 618. Pretty ideal, and we can see this algo reaction down here at the negative 618. So that looks pretty good. And let's see where this actually goes. So yeah, straight back up to the golden zone, and perhaps making its way down here. We'll see, but it did get through here, so maybe that's not on. But in any case, in the Elliott count, I like this as a five wave. Boom, straight down, and we're looking for this to, and it may still put in a flat. I don't think so. I think that the move down this morning, or yes, when was it? I've no idea when it was. Before the move down, before this move down is was pretty good because it sort of gave us a bit more to work with. I just sort of stared at this the entire weekend, thinking, oh, it's going to go up. No, it's going to go down. No, it's going to go up. It's going to go down. And it wasn't really clear. So this was pretty good to give us some sort of clarity in what's happening here, because it's just a mess, um, and this is what I think, at least this is what it looks like at the moment, is that we have this a leading diagonal here. Now I think what I think is we've got a 1-2. Um, like I say, we might go back up. We might get a retracement up to be somewhere about here for the all the way halfway back. Where are we? Well, if we get to here, where would that take us? Yeah, up to about these pivots here. But we may yet still prove this completely wrong, of course. But this is how I see it at the moment. So yeah, there was another I wanted to show you. I mean, this diagonal here. What? So I think we've got the 1-2. We've got this for the one, and this shallow 2 here, and then we're beginning we're beginning the third wave, so we'll be in the first of the third. And don't worry, I mean we have plenty room to go down. Uh, I would guess that a double bottom is very likely, at least. Um, I mean, I'm looking at maybe 109, and how I get to that is by taking this 2 here. Um, so if we just take the retracement, the 2 to the 3, I mean, we can see as well the 4 doesn't it doesn't break the 618. Obviously, it doesn't overlap, so we still have an impulse. So yeah, this is I'm kind of expecting this will be my sort of target to the downside for this. Of course, news and current events can certainly shape that or change that at any point. But that's how I'm seeing it at the moment. So yeah, looking a bit deeper into this diagonal, um, it also measures pretty technically. So if we look at the retracement of the second, let me see, put the 887 on. So it goes straight to the 887, rips right down and hits the second algo target to the negative 618. Now, yeah, of course, this isn't what this isn't what we expect. We expect 50 to the 618, then to the algo targets for the algo plays. But we also know that the tail is in the profit taking. It's not at the opening of the position. It's here when you see the profit taken. That's when you know that it's algo activity. So okay, and if we just leaving the same fib on, and this happens quite a lot as well, where okay, a target is hit, it comes back up, and the same pivots are used. And here we can see it's just a touch through the golden zone. But if we're taking and we're measuring it in an Elliott context, so we're measuring again from the origin of the 1, the 0, through to the 3, and again it looks pretty technical, right to the 786 and down, and it has a bit of trouble getting through this negative 236. So this level here, this level here is interesting for me as well. I was looking also, so we've got we've got this negative 618, which I think is very possible. But also looking at the Wolf range. So if I take it to here, then that's pretty decent there. With the negative 3, obviously it's under here, it's stalling at the negative 2, and this is kind of the next stage, and may get halfway through here. But yeah, so I mean this sort of area here looks pretty interesting for a pivot, but obviously you don't want to get short here. It needs to, I mean, ideally be good to see a retracement. Certainly, if we're taking that to there. In fact, let me just use this and change it back to measure move. Yeah, I mean, I think it would be ideal. Don't know if we're going to get it. Could just keep going and keep going, because obviously what's happening in the whole Brexit scenario at the moment is, you know, it's like, is it up? Is it down? Is it up? Is it down? Are we in? Are we out? You know, no one really knows at the moment. It's a bit of a mess. So the markets don't like uncertainty, creates a lot of volatility, and I mean I think we're seeing that across the board really. A lot of uncertainty, and certainly surrounding the pound, the euro, um, and even with the dollar at the moment, you know, there a lot of commentators seem to be let's say they seem to have the a desire to paint the Fed's words as pretty dovish, um, but it all remains to be seen. So yeah, um, I'd be looking for a decent retracement before try again. But I just see downsides. So you know looking for shorts is, in my opinion, what the what the play is here. Um, so yeah, let's have a look. Actually, I had a couple of pitchforks I thought were interesting. Um, maybe have a look. It wasn't that one. Um, so let me just adjust this. And I like these pivots here. Like this. So yeah, this kind of, you know, this gave me, I think that's pretty a pretty decent sort of containment of of the waves. Um, and yeah, I mean, I had a few pitchforks on there. So I mean, this level I think is good for a pivot for for our fifth wave. And if we take the length of get rid of the magnet tool. So we want to take the length of the proposed third from our fourth. We can see that's, you know, not far away for the 1618 there. Put the 1272 on, see where that is coming in at. I quite like the 1272. It seems to play pretty often. So yeah, I mean, you know, if we got a retracement to up to one of these upper parallels, then I would look to get back short again. Um, and I mean, even in a move like this, there's still a good 400-500 pips in there. So yeah, but that's how I see the pound at the moment. Let's look at the dollar. And the dollar, the reason, I mean, I sort of thought, right, I'll look at a couple of pairs. I want to look at the pound, um, obviously. Um, I like pounds. It's good to have pounds, but you want to know if those pounds are going to be worth less or more. So, yeah, the euro and the pound, and this is something that you can do if you know, if you can't find a count, uh, if it's unclear what you're looking at, then you can always look at one of the correlated pairs and see if you can get something from that. So the euro is highly, I mean, at the higher time frames, the euro is highly correlated to the pound. I think it was something like 94%. Um, so yeah, I mean, like looking at the euro, it's a pretty clean count. Let me just get rid of some of this for you. I think the daily will do. So it's a, it's a pretty good looking motive wave here. Some people count this as the third, 3, 4, 5. I prefer 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for the third here. And the fourth again, it comes up and it finishes in close to the area of the fourth here. So I prefer that. This I mean, this has not been the cleanest of portions here, but it certainly works. It certainly works. I'm not convinced that we're done here with this fourth, though. I think that it's possible. I think it's possible that we get something like this. If we do get a significant retracement to there, then I mean, if we just want to measure this, it's fairly shallow. It's fairly shallow for a second in the diagonal, but nevertheless, um, it's still a technical retracement, and we get clear profit taken here. Is this a front run? Maybe. Um, Never be quite sure. I mean, but in this here, to be honest, I'm inclined to keep this fib, to keep these pivots, to keep an eye on that until this is hit. I think this is probably, and this here would be, I have this as the second X in a WXYXZ, as some of you folks like to refer to it as, we say Z here, but I have this as a WXYXZ. So this would be the first actionary leg of the Z wave. So yeah, here is where I think we'll somewhere in this region is where I think we'll get our A wave, um, with a 3-wave correction going up. But here, I mean, if we take this to the third, measure that to the third there. I mean, this would be pretty nice, and it would certainly look a lot better to myself if we could get up to this 50 here. If we could get up to this 50 here, I will certainly short that, and I'll be looking for this region here, which is, somewhere in the region of 400 pips. So, plenty of meat left in that. There was another thing actually. Yeah, the Dixie. For those of you who are new to forex, we have these we have the indices, the currency indices, and the dollar, the 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 Dixie, the US dollar index, is highly correlated to the euro dollar pair. So it's basically a mirror image. Um, so how I have it, the count is slightly different, but similar enough. Um, so I have this as a pretty well formed triangle here. It may not be done. It may not be done, and it could be wrong. It could certainly. It can always prove you wrong, but I think this is a pretty decent triangle here for a 3, 4, 5. So maybe, if there's some sort of a retracement here for a second of this fifth, then perhaps that chimes well with a retracement here to the 50. Um, so yeah, that's kind of how I see the pound and the euro dollar, um, waiting for the 50s. And like I say, well, not to say that my count is correct, and I would encourage you to try and invalidate it. Or I mean, that was actually one of the things that I did a lot of. I would take counts that other people posted, and I would go and check them. And it's just another way of getting more more practicing of uh, looking at the rules and guidelines, going through each one in turn, and um, marking them off, checking them to make sure each one is compliant, or each part of the count that you're looking at is compliant with each rule. So yeah, do that. Dig in. Try and invalidate it. Um, it's all about locking in the rules and the guidelines. Once you get them locked in, once once you know them off by heart, um, then and I think well, certainly in my case, for me, um, once I was able to recall from memory the rules and guidelines without, it sort of freed me up a bit, I would say, to just look at the to just look and concentrate on sort of on recognizing the patterns. um, and so yeah, certainly do that. um, and yeah, as for correlation, um, when you have a clean count, you can then look at the correlated pairs, and then you can see what's happening in there. And maybe, uh, Mike Philly, for example, posted a trade the other day in the FX channel, an excellent chart that showed a pair that was highly correlated to a pair that I was looking at. But the pair that Mike posted was a much better entry. It was set up in a much better, it had a retracement, nice entry, whereas the pair that I was looking at was already ripping it down. So you might find that, with the highly correlated pairs, you might find that one might have already left, whereas the other is ready for entry. So check those. If you if you're looking for your trades, then it's always worth looking at the correlations and seeing where your clean counts are, and then comparing them to the other charts. Um, all right, I hope I didn't ramble on too long there, and I'll see you in the next one.